What's going on, guys? It's New York Prepper here. Just wanted to do a quick review of the Snowpeak Litemax backpacking stove. So the reason I bought this stove is I wanted something for my get home bag or my bug out bag. Something that I could use to boil water. So, if I need to, purify water, I don't have to build a fire every time. It's also good for, backpacking, or if I do any kind of hiking, if I want to purify my water, I basically could just quickly boil it with the stove here rather than having to build a fire. Now, if you guys are curious about what's the best way to purify water, boiling is really the best way to purify water. Once the water reaches the boiling point, as long as it boils for about a minute or two, you're going to kill everything that's in the water, any type of parasites or bacteria, viruses. Now, a lot of people like to use chlorine dioxide tablets or iodine. You can also use water filters. Those are all great, but they're not as good as boiling, and they have their own drawbacks to it. So, for example, using a water filter, first of all, you're going to have to clean it. And, if the water's kind of dirty or murky, it's going to clog up the filter quick. You're going to have to be cleaning it a lot. Also, water filters don't work in colder temperatures. You're not supposed to, like, for example, those Sawyer mini water filters, you're not supposed to really use them below freezing, because when the water freezes inside the elements, it can crack the filter. So I obviously keep a water filter and chlorine dioxide tablets in my get home bag and when I go hiking, but I would say that I try to boil water first before I resort to those things, because they're not as bulletproof as boiling. If I have the time and the energy to boil, I'm going to boil. If I'm in a rush, if I'm severely dehydrated, or I'm in a rush for whatever reason, let's say I'm backpacking, or if I'm in a get home situation, I'm obviously not going to, I may be in more of a rush, I'm not going to have as much time to boil. Then I'll probably stick to the water filter and chlorine dioxide, but I'm going to try to boil if I can, and so basically I'll do a quick review of the stove here. So basically this is the stove, the company Snowpeak. They're out of Japan. It looks like there's some Japanese writing here. It's some type of certification, looks like a safety certification or whatever. It says made in Korea, so it comes with this tag here. And so basically the way it works is, so right now this is how it would look like if it was working. The legs, they fold up just like this to the right side. They compact, and then you fold them like this. All right, and it shortens it, and then this thing right here controls your fuel. So to the left is releases more fuel from your canister, and then to the right it closes it. So, and then it folds underneath for storage. There's an O-ring in here, so you want to make sure that you don't over tighten this too much onto your canister. If you over tighten it, you're going to damage the O-ring. You want to always check that O-ring when you're using this, to see if there's any cracks, or because it's going to wear and tear over time. And if it does, you want to replace that O-ring, because then gas is going to be leaking out and it could cause an explosion. So I'll just show you the logo here. It's Snowpeak. And it's nice. It weighs 2 ounces, so it's not very heavy at all. It's very compact. It comes with this carry case. It slips right inside the carry case. It's made of stainless steel, and I think these are titanium, these supports here. The supports are made from titanium. It actually says it right here. says titanium. See if I can focus that. That's kind of tough here. So anyway, these are titanium and this is stainless steel, so it's very rugged, very durable. I think this is better than some of the other ones out there. This costs $59.99 at rei.com. I'm going to put a link in the description box. The reason I bought this particular model is I like the way the legs come pretty close to the burner. So it works good with a canteen, you know. See, it fits. This is an Nalgene 38 ounce canteen for, you know, so this is in my get home bag, or if I'm hiking, I always have this. This is about, you know, a little more than a liter of water, around a liter of water. And this fits perfectly on the canteen, you know. Some of the other ones, this would even fit a 64 ounce clean canteen. See, it'll fit the 64 ounce, you know. Some of the other brands of these stoves, I think it's the MSR Pocket Rocket. I don't like the way that they look kind of flimsy. This is nice because it comes close to the burner, so you can use smaller canteens and smaller cups, and it's going to hold it nicely. It's got these nice grips here, you know, so it'll grip whatever you're putting on there, your pot or whatever. So like I said, the reason I bought this is for my survival bag. If I need to quickly boil water without expending a lot of calories, you know, gathering foods or gathering, you know, wood, starting the fire, you know, keeping the fire going, you know, cleaning, you know, making sure that the fire doesn't spread. You know, this is just much quicker. It saves a lot of energy and time. You know, I can boil a liter of water in 5 minutes with this. So I'm gonna do a quick demonstration. I use this as my lighter. I bought this at Home Depot for $4. It comes with like 7 or 8 spare little flints here. This is just for, you know, a torch, like if you have a propane torch. You know, don't waste your money on, like, you know, going, like, I know like some of these backpacking stores, they sell like igniters for stoves. They're like special piezo igniters, but this is the best. You know, it's $5 at Home Depot, and it comes with 8 spare flints, you know, and it gives a nice spark. So, you know, you can't go wrong with it, you know. So I'm going to use this to start it. And I'm gonna boil a liter of water, and I'm gonna time it and see how long it takes. So basically, this is just a MSR IsoPro fuel canister. It's an 8 ounce canister. The gross weight is 13 ounces. You know, this is 80% isobutane and 20% propane. So if you want something that's gonna work better in cold weather, you want to have more propane in your blend. So this has 20% propane versus like other brands, theirs is like 15% propane. So that even that little 5% of extra propane is gonna, you know, make it much better in colder conditions. So this is the IsoPro All Season Fuel Blend. This was like, I don't know, $7 each for one of these 8 ounce canisters. This has 8 ounces of fuel, and it's less than a pound. So together with this, you know, the canister, you know, your igniter, you know, you're looking at about a pound, okay, which is not that much weight, and this is not really too bulky. You know, this is maybe about the size of like a large tuna can, you know, one of those big like tuna cans. It's not that big. It doesn't take up a lot of space. And with this canister, you know, you can probably, they say you can boil 16, I think one 8 ounce canister can boil, I think they said 16 liters of water. So that's a lot, you know. That's, you know, you figure, let's say you drink about 2 to 3 liters of water a day, so that would last you at least a few days if you were boiling just with this. That's not including if you, you know, filter sometimes with the water filter, or, you know, let's say occasionally if you have time, or you build a fire and you boil that way. But you could basically boil your water for at least a few days with just one of these canisters, you know, and it only weighs 13 ounces, so it's kind of a no-brainer. You know, this should be in everybody's, you know, survival bag or your get-home bag or whatever. You know, so basically the way it works is you have this cap that protects the top, you know, and you know, you always want to keep the cap on to protect the threads and protect the thing. And you can actually measure how full the canister is. You just drop this in some water, and you'll see here, you see it says full or empty. So you just, what I do is I'll fill up my sink, and I'll just drop it in and let it settle down. And then depending on how high the water is, you'll see here, that means it's halfway, and then empty is down here. So, you know, that's how you can tell. The one thing with these canisters and when you use these stoves is you got to be very careful about, you know, anything around it, because it gets very hot. So if you have like any type of flammable objects like leaves, pine needles, any type of combustible material, you're going to want to clear it out at least a few feet around. You're going to take, you know, if you have like a shovel or even just your boots, you know, just kick away all the combustible material. You know, you also don't want to put like rocks around it, you know, like a lot of people put stones to like stabilize it, or some people like to put like a windscreen. You don't want to do that because it's going to overheat the canister and the canister can explode. And you know, you don't want to be like 20 miles away in the wilderness and have pieces of shrapnel from this canister, you know, embedded into your body. You know, that could be catastrophic. So you know, you want to keep this, but make sure it's level surface, no combustible materials, nothing that's going to insulate the heat back towards it. You want to have it wide open. And so basically what you want to do is you want to, when you put your stove on the Snowpeak stove, you're going to turn this to the right, so it makes sure that the gas, the valve is closed so the gas doesn't come out. And you're going to turn this counterclockwise, just like this. Now a little bit of gas is going to be released. That's normal. You hear that? I don't know if you heard that. You know, and you tighten it. You don't need to over tighten, just so it's snug. And okay, so I'm gonna light it now. Let's see. I'm gonna turn this to the left. All right, see if I can focus it for you. I'm gonna turn this to the left here. Let some gas out. All right, so now it's burning. So you can lower it. That's when it's really low. That's like a simmer setting. And then that's like the maximum setting. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna boil some water, and I'm gonna time it, see how long it takes. I'm gonna boil this water, so I'll be right back. Now I have it on the max setting. I'm letting as much heat out as I can. You can hear how loud it is. I'm going to put it on the middle setting here. I'm going to see how long it takes to boil. So I'll be right back. So another thing, I'm just going to let this boil a little bit now. So another thing that you could do with this stove is it has a lot of uses. Obviously you can boil water and you can cook food, but you know, you can also use it to you know, you could use it as a heat source if it's like an emergency and you get cold. You know, you could use it as a heat source. You know, you need to like warm your hands up. Obviously that's not recommended because you can burn yourself, but in the worst case scenario, you know, if you get cold, you know, you might be able to use this as like a heat source as well. So you know, it's been about a minute already. You can already see some bubbles in there. It's boiling pretty quick. Now obviously you don't want to use this indoors. I'm just doing this as an example because obviously if it tipped over you could cause a fire, but I'm not too worried about it because I got a lot of water nearby, so I could put it out. You have to be very careful when you use these things because you can easily cause a fire. So you know, you always want to be. See how I'm simmer. This is the simmer setting. And that's like the max setting. I'm gonna put it in the middle. Water's already bubbling. I don't know if you guys can see the bubbles. It's only been about, I don't know, 2 minutes already. 2 or 3 minutes. So let's see how much longer it's gonna take. And this is only an 8-ounce canister, so you can buy a bigger canister if you want to get a 16-ounce, or you can carry like 2 of these in your you know, get home bag or your bug out bag. You know, it's definitely worth its weight in gold, you know, because just to get a fire started, to boil water, it takes a lot of effort, you know. So you know, you don't really want to, if you're in a stressful situation, you know, you don't want to be spending time gathering wood and stuff like that, especially in SHTF situation. This will save you a lot of energy and a lot of time. 5 minutes you'll have boiled water, you know. It's already boiling now. All right, guys, so I got the water boiling here. Now once the water's boiling, you can just reduce it to a simmer setting. You see it's just on a simmer setting. You know, you don't need that much heat to maintain the boil. Once it starts boiling, you know, you can keep it at like a simmer and just let it simmer for, you know, however long you want. You know, if you're at sea level, you can just let it boil for a minute or two and it'll kill all the pathogens in there. But if you're at higher elevations, you know, you can let it simmer for a few minutes if you want, you know, 5 or 10 minutes, whatever you feel comfortable. But once it's on the simmer setting, it's basically barely using any fuel, as you can see, you know. You know, it's barely using any fuel right now. You know, it's a very low setting, so it's just maintaining that boil, you know, and that'll conserve the fuel. It took about 5 minutes or so to boil the water. You know, obviously I didn't have the heat turned up all the way because I wanted to conserve the fuel. So because when you have it turned up all the way, it's just excessive heat and you're wasting fuel. So I'm sure if I had it turned up all the way, it could have boiled a little faster. But you know, 5 or 6 minutes, that's good. You know, I'm not in a rush. You know, I'd rather conserve fuel than, you know, waste fuel by having it to save an extra 2 minutes or so. So that's basically it, guys. I'm going to leave a link in the description box for the canister and for the Snowpeak Litemax stove. But it's a very good product. You know, like I said, if you're a survivalist or a prepper, it's very good to have in your get-home bag. You know, because you can quickly boil water. And, you know, like I said, boiling water is the best way to purify water, you know. Because boiling, see, I just turned it off now. Turned it all the way to the right. This knob here, I turned it all the way to the right, clockwise, and it's off. Nothing's coming out, but you know, boiling is the best way to go. You know for sure that this water's clean now. I don't have to worry about, like with chlorine dioxide, you have to make sure that it has a certain amount of contact time, you know. Typically you have to leave it in there for at least like 30 minutes to an hour for bacteria, and if you want to kill like cryptosporidium, then you got to leave it in for like up to 4 hours. And the effectiveness of chlorine dioxide has a lot to do with the turbidity of the water, how clean the water is. So if the water's dirty, then you're gonna have to leave the chlorine dioxide or the iodine longer inside. Or if it's colder, then you have to leave it in longer. you know, with boiling, I know that the water is good to go. You know, it boiled, I let it roll, I had it at a rolling boil for 2 minutes. That's more than enough, you know, and I know that everything's killed inside of that water and it's good to drink. So definitely good if you're, you know, a survivalist, prepper. You definitely want to have the Snowpeak Litemax stove. It puts out about 11,000 BTUs, and you know, together with the fuel canister, this is an 8-ounce fuel canister. This is the MSR IsoPro. You know, you're looking at about a pound, so it's really just a no-brainer. You know, that it weighs the same as you know, as a power bar, you know, or two power bars in your pack, you know, and it's gonna give you the capability to boil, you know, 16 liters of water with one canister, you know. And so it's really a no-brainer, you know, and it's also obviously for backpacking as well. So thanks for watching, guys. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you guys on the next one. God bless. So another nice thing, one last quick thing I'll show you guys is this stove cools down really quickly because it's titanium. It doesn't hold the heat that long. So I'm touching this right now. It's cold it's like lukewarm to the touch. It feels like I had it in my pocket. And this was literally just 5 minutes ago. I shut the heat off. So in 5 minutes, it's cooled down, and I can put it back in my stuff sack and back in my backpack, and I'm ready to get back on the trail, or, you know, wherever I'm going, you know. So it's really just a no-brainer to have this in your bug out bag or your get home bag. So thanks for watching, guys. God bless.